Hello, everybody. This is Cyrus with Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, where we discuss life after death, supernatural topics, spirituality, and things like that. And tonight, I want to talk about the phenomenon of, quote, negative or evil spirits, because I've had some inquiries lately from people concerned that they may get held back by negative entities when it is their time to cross over. And I also want to talk about how really there's negative entities on this side that we have to deal with right now, and this separation between dimensions is not as apparent as people think it is. But before we get started, if you would kindly hit the subscribe button on this channel and the notification bell, that'll help this channel grow. I really depend on you to help out with that. You'll get notifications with the bell anytime new videos are posted, and it would definitely help out a lot. So, with destructive spirits, I wanted to make this video because, let me preface this by saying I am an admin in the Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics Facebook group, and it's got to be one of the most peaceful quarters of the internet. Keeping in mind that people all over the internet are continually at each other's throats. But in Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, like most of the threads are great. There's usually no problems. We've had issues in the past. The famous Afterlife Topics Civil War, where a bunch of people disagreed with some moderation guidelines, and it was this big hoopla, whatever. They're still crying somewhere about it. That's not my concern anymore. I would say in the last 6 months, very peaceful, no issues. This is a kind of a new channel, a fledgling community, but also great, lots of interesting conversation. I'm learning stuff every time I make these videos. I'm always learning stuff from the comments. So yeah, we run a couple communities here, and it's been great. But even that being said, every once in a while, somebody will come along who is just frighteningly destructive. And in the last couple of days, I've had to deal with some really negative, really nasty people here on this YouTube channel, as well as in the Afterlife Topics main Facebook group. And it's not all the time, but every now and then. Now these people, they come in and their intention is to subvert, destroy, sabotage, and basically crush people. And you can see, I'm a bit trained in psychology. And I'm certainly not qualified as a professional, but I do have a little bit of a background educationally in psychology. And I feel like I can sniff out behaviors very quickly. I can be like, well, this guy's gaslighting. I can feel like, well, this fella probably has some kind of narcissistic personality disorder. And might be able to look at somebody and say, this person is crying out for attention, and this person's motivation is just to make sure all the attention is placed on them. It's like I'm always kind of doing that. And in the words of Michael Caine in The Dark Knight, some people, they just want to see the world burn. And the motivation behind that, it's very complicated. Even trained psychiatrists, they no one's ever been able to fully hash out what is it that makes somebody like that tick and makes them want to subvert and destroy and sabotage and hurt and crush people. Probably, and definitely people much more qualified than me to be talking about this, but my feeling is that it's related to childhood trauma, or it's like an inferiority complex, and as a way to compensate for that inferiority, they make other people feel inferior, and then that makes them feel superior once they've put those people down. So we see this sometimes with internet trolling, when somebody will sneak into a group and just really try to lay waste to some unsuspecting person, hoping they'll find somebody who is a bit emotionally fragile, and then they can just destroy and rip that person to pieces. And this is a bit a little off left field here, but I noticed this behavior especially bad here at home in the USA. I've spent a lot of time living in Asia and other parts of the world, and it amazes me the level of insecurity sometimes in the West, especially among people in my peer groups. I've seen like ridiculous fights happen over things like women. When you're around a group of guys and one guy wants some girl's attention, and so he spends like the whole night just tooling and trying to put down, trying to crush the self-esteem of like somebody that he perceives as a competitor. And then at the end of the night, like, this will boil over, and then suddenly I'm watching like two people like literally trying to kill each other. And especially when I was younger or back in college, like, it's amazing how much I'd see that kind of thing happen. And nonetheless, the point being is that some people, this is their modus operandi, to destroy, to push people down, and to create as many people. Like, it's like they have an inferiority complex, and they want to spread that inferiority complex out to other people. So it becomes like this infectious disease, kind of like a hex or like a negative spell to place on other people, and to spread it because they think that somehow is going to help them. So it's a very destructive, nasty spiral. And so when we talk about negative entities, the afterlife, negative spirits, the people obsessed with this type of behavior, they are the negative spirits. They're here in this world. And sadly, sometimes some of us are married to them, or we have them as our parents, or people very close to us, and they have personality issues like narcissistic personality disorder, and they're going to make life really difficult for a lot of the people around them. And here in this world, it's I think it's more difficult to escape. And that's why this world is a lot more frightening than the other world. Because on the other world, if you're in an abusive relationship, you don't have the financial pressure to have to stay in that abusive relationship. And it's a lot easier to get sucked into somebody's negative vortex, especially when they have, like financial dominance or other physical methods of persuasion. So this is the terrifying world where you may end up having encounters with negative entities that want to control you, and maybe will do it to some level of success. In the other world, people's thoughts and intentions are almost always on the surface, and you're only going to have negative entities bothering you if you're foolish enough to go along with them, or if for some reason you're verging on being in that dark, destructive spectrum yourself, and you're aligning with them vibrationally speaking. If that's not the case, you have much less of a chance of having to deal with this kind of stuff on the astral side than here. Because again, people are communicating telepathically. You can hear people's thoughts half the time. You know people's intentions. It's a lot more difficult to get deceived. And if you need to get away from somebody, you can probably just teleport away. So if you're in a house and you're living with somebody and you find out they're kind of abusive, and there's no reason why not, because on the other side can be so much like this world, with people with all their same flaws and issues. But so if you find yourself in an abusive relationship in what we call the afterlife, the astral world, you need to get away, just teleport the heck out of there. Think to yourself, okay, I'm going to Italy, and poof, you're gone, and they don't have to even know where you went. It's a lot easier than packing all your bags up here and having to file a restraining order and all that. And if they do attempt to harass you, the astral world, in my experience and the experience of a lot of out-of-body explorers, there's still law enforcement and security, and whole groups that are dedicated to protecting innocent people from bad situations, just like here. So the final point of this video is there's a lot more to worry about in this world than the next world. So yeah, there's boogeymen, there's dark, destructive people that never get past those traits, and then they just get worse and worse on that side, and they become, I think, what traditions have called demons. But it's rare to encounter these types of entities. You don't need to encounter them. and you need to keep your vibration high, stay positive, keep to loving, kind thoughts, because that's your greatest defense, probably in both worlds. But in some ways, you also have to have a sword and a shield. If your kind, loving thoughts is your shield, then your sword has to be being able to take action and not taking crap from anybody. So I don't take crap from anybody, and probably some people who know me personally will know that about my personality. If I see if something doesn't seem right, if I'm sensing even a little bit of manipulation, that person's not going to be my friend anymore, and they are very quickly going into the naughty list and probably getting banned and kicked from various communities, or I'm going to be Xing them out of my life. Because it's up to you, up to us to not harbor those qualities. And I do recommend, but no, I don't recommend. None of this is professional advice. In fact, don't do anything that I'm saying for you to do. But what I would personally do in a situation, if there's a very negative person in my life, is evaluate it closely. If it's a loved one, if it's somebody who you can't exactly get away from, if it's a parent or something, evaluate the situation, but still put yourself first and create a healthy physical space from them. If it's somebody that you don't know that well, if you don't have a familial obligation to be in touch with them, then there's no reason that you shouldn't just try to get rid of them as quickly as possible, so it doesn't hurt you. So those are my thoughts about that tonight. It's a big topic, I know. If you want to get involved, check out the channel description. We have the website, we have my books, we have the communities, stuff like that you may be interested in. And that's it. I guess I'll see you on the next video.